prompted me to go back to the barber shop and start the conversation that you saw in part 1 of this video last week.
Have you guys heard of the term black fatigue?
And if you thought that was heated, all I have to say about part 2 today is hold on to your butts.
I know I said this on the last reaction that I did to Steven Crowder's video, but I just want to say, Steven Crowder, I got to give him credit where it's due for going into this environment and having this conversation, because a lot of people would not do this. A lot of people, well, here's what pisses me off. This is one of my big pet peeves. A lot of people who cover these culture war issues will talk about it on the internet. They'll air out their grievances, complain about it, get 100,000, 200,000 views like Matt Walsh. This is all Matt Walsh This is all Matt Walsh talks about. The Muslims in Dearborn, the blacks. The blacks. And it's like, okay, fine. Air out your grievances, have your frustration, have your anger. I get it. When I see shit like that too, I get mad. You know, I don't like seeing videos of like random black guys. It doesn't matter the race, but I don't like seeing videos of random black guys going up and just killing people for no reason. It frustrates me personally because it's like, damn, that kind of makes me look bad too on some level. And so personally, I don't like seeing that. But at the same time, it's like, dude, Matt Walsh, you got a platform. You know, you got a huge following. Why not go talk about these issues in a way where it's like you're actually bridging the gap, bridging the divide on these racial issues? Go try to establish some understanding if you really care about these things. So I give Steven Crowder credit where it's due for going to a barbershop and talking to black people face to face and having this conversation. Much respect.
What I said earlier, and you listen to this, is when you have a young white person going, okay, why is this happening? And people go, Black Lives Matter. And they go, well, hold on a second. I have an opinion on Black Lives Matter. They go, well, sit down, shut up. Okay, now silence is violence. And that kid goes, well, what do I do? By the way, you're on the hook for reparations, even though his father, his grandfather, his great-great-grandfather didn't own a slave, and he's still 12 times more likely to be killed by a black person the other way around. You're going to. What I'm saying is society is going to create a generation of racists. What do you say to that young white kid? What do you say to him?
Stop watching, stay off of TikTok.
Stop reading stats.
Stop paying attention to what these talking heads are saying, because they're leading you down the wrong path. They're leading you down a path of paranoia and conspiracy theories.
What if their interactions with black people in general are quite negative?
So same thing. Give the same thing in reverse. What about black people who've had?
He just said, what if your experiences with black people are quite negative? That's where I get confused, because when are white people and black people ever interacting in America? Like, that's what I want to understand. I don't know when that happens. Outside of like, you go to a drive-through, the cashier is black, and like maybe they have an attitude, maybe they don't, maybe they're nice. 80% of the time when I have to deal with a black cashier, I usually don't get shit. 20% of the time they're annoying, they're obnoxious. You know, they might be an asshole, but 80% of the time, and I live in LA, a lot of the black people that I interact with who are cashiers are fine. They're nice, they're whatever. So I'm trying to understand, where are these, you know, every black person I interact with, I'm having a negative experience. And I'm not saying it's not happening. Maybe it is. If there's white people who are having those experiences, let me know, tell me about it, comment about it. But if you saying my negative experiences with black people are, oh, I saw a video on Twitter, that's my negative experience, and you're living vicariously through somebody else, I can't really take that serious.
Continuous, not only historical, but personal experiences.
Yep.
Where they've been at the wrong end of white people.
Here's the thing. I'll tell you.
And then we get told that those stories are invalid.
Nope. No, you're not.
Yes, we do.
You're not.
I've been personally told my story was invalid.
I'll give you an example. And by the way, the only thing that keeps my heart protected from racism, by the way, the only thing that protects me from not wanting to go out and kill the person who shot Charlie Kirk, because by the way, there are two people on earth who know what it's like to sit in that chair. Sure. Me and him. And I just did it at SMU and had to have entire bulletproof glass and an army to go in and have conversations, right? So I'm a little bit pissed off about it. Also, people have tried to take my life many times. So I don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for anyone, white or black, saying, oh, must be. Yeah. You ever have someone show up at your house? You ever have someone show up at your house when your kids are sleeping with weapons being swatted? Like, we've been living through this for a long fucking time and told you don't know what it's like. I will say this. My faith is what has protected me. My faith is what has protected my heart from becoming racist, but I've had a lot of negative interactions. That's why I'm sitting here. We'll have to edit this because just the word. By the way, if you want a relaxing vacation, stay home. Don't go to I know, but my kids love it. So I go there, okay? And I'll tell you this: you have like this magic wand thing? You run around the hotel and it opens up chests. Wow. And I'm sitting there, I'm sunken eye, and there was a black guy next to me. Obviously a dad with like his daughter and his son. And I just kind of looked at him. We looked at each other in the face, like, yeah, we know this is exhausting. And I know we have a lot in common because his wife or woman is probably in the room because he's there with his kids by himself. I was too. But then we were there at the water slides. My kids are 3. And this happened not once, but about 4 or 5 times. And it happened 3 times with one. Black kid was about 5 or 6. Shoved my son out of the way to get on the water slide. Okay? My son did nothing. Shoved him out of the way a second time, came back. My son's 2, 3 years, which is a big deal at that point. And then at one point I look over, Mom, no Dad. And I just go like, hey, he's being aggressive. Okay, comes back the 3rd time. And I go, hey, hold on, you have to wait in line. You know what my son said? My son said, well, Daddy, you know what, maybe he's in a real hurry. We should let him go. That was a different interaction. That kid kept doing it to every other and it wasn't the only one. And you know why? Because I've taught my kid, hey, you're going to have people who look different from you, and it doesn't matter, you treat them well. That kid wasn't. And I'm telling you, along with the empirical, anecdotally, if you have a young white person who has these interactions on a regular basis, and I'd be lying to you if I said they were uncommon, while being told they need to shut up because of systemic discrimination.
Interesting. So what he's basically saying here is like he had an experience at a water park or a water slide. His kid was being pushed out of the way by this other black kid. Listen. I get the point he's making, and I'm not going to make excuses, obviously, but it is one, because it's like, look, kids are assholes, okay? A 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, even white kids who are 5 or 6 years old are assholes. I've seen it. They bully each other, they fuck with each other, they mess with each other, they push each other around, break each other's balls. That's what kids do. White kids do it too. I grew up in an all-white neighborhood. I dealt with this shit my whole life. I had to deal with white people treating me that way when I was a kid too. It's not like it's not unique to black or white people. So I don't like that double standard. It's like if a black kid does something dumb, does something irresponsible, does something that violates a social dynamic or a social contract, it's like, okay, hold that person accountable. I don't like the fact that it gets compounded with their race. It's like, okay, he's black, he did something bad. This 5 or 6-year-old kid did something bad to my kid. Oh, plus he's black, so it makes it twice as bad. It's like, yeah, but white kids do those things too. I had to live through that as a kid too. Okay, I grew up in Kingwood, Texas, 98% white neighborhood, lived there from the time I was in 2nd grade till 10th grade, elementary, middle school, and high school. I was in this all-white neighborhood. Dude, I had to deal with all kinds of racism, all kinds of bullshit from white people. It didn't make me racist. It didn't make me hate white people at all. I have no animosity towards white people. I hold everybody to the exact same standard. Don't be a dick. So that's my universal principle. Hasn't changed ever. But on some level, I will say this, because there is an element of culture to it. Let's not be naive here. There are black people, okay, who don't socialize their kids well. They socialize their kids to be aggressive. They socialize their kids to be combative. They see that kind of behavior from their parents. And it is one of those things where it's like, look, that's got to stop. That's got to change on some level. And I know maybe I'm giving the cookie cutter safe take here, but this is me just being measured. It's me giving the measured take, because I can come up here and be incendiary and do the whole thing, but I feel like we're past that point as a society. If we want to improve this country, improve race relations, I think my approach is better than saying, F black people this, black people that. So that combative element, yeah, black people, especially my generation, we end up having children. We got to raise our kids to be better. We got to raise our kids to be patient, to be respectful, to be, to respect the social contract, right? And it's not a racial thing. I think it's a cultural thing, absolutely, because I had Nigerian friends growing up too, completely different. Nigerian kids, Nigerian families, African families, completely different from black American families. So there is absolutely an element of culture to it.
Discrimination, you're gonna create a generation of racists.
I get it.
But that child was poorly parented too.
I agree. All the time.
SD, that child was poorly parented. There's no way in the world his mother shouldn't have intervened and whipped his The first time.
No,
The
That's what I
dad
said.
did nothing, Steve?
The dad wasn't
There was no dad. That's what I said.
mom, no dad.
No, I say because it's not a race thing. The dad, him and I looked and were like, dude, I get it, right? We're both tired. But here, this kid, I don't know, maybe the dad wasn't there. His mom didn't, and he shoved my son out of the way 3
But
times.
poor parenting though.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
and we run into that all the time.
That's what I was about to say. It's poor parenting everywhere, and that creates individuals that grow up to be grown up individuals,
Let me give you
and
one.
some of those individuals end up getting positions of power.
Well, see, can I drop one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Actually, because I like the thing about choices. And you were talking about the federal
By
department.
the way, the whitest
I'm sorry. But I'm sorry. Like, there's a couple things.
All right. Two buttons undone is one thing. You can do two. Look, I got a suit on, right? You can do two buttons undone, look like Don Juan, look like you're at a nightclub in Ibiza. Three buttons down though, that's insane. That's freaky. In a room full of men, that's freaky. That's crazy. At least 2 is the max, bro. 3, you're not Don Juan. You're not Don Juan, bro.
You said you ended up in and so you don't have to worry about things that people in South
No, I said I've been afforded some things.
afforded.
Yeah.
Why? How are you afforded that? You just happen to land
No,
here.
I sacrificed some things to live in.
Correct.
Right.
You made good choices.
I made choices. I
And when
made
we talk
choices
about
that.
when we talk about educational standards.
But I
why-
also had opportunities available
Sure,
to me
you-
too
sure.
that some people didn't have.
Of course, everyone has a different
Right.
lot for sure.
Right.
Sure.
But you were talking about educational standards. Why is it that the Asian kid does 3 times to 4 times as much homework than the black kid, and the white kid does 2
Conditioning.
to 3? Why?
Because it's culturally, it's conditioned.
Exactly.
So why is
That's
it
what
better
I'm saying.
parenting from
So-
Asians than white
and then we
parents?
come
Why?
You said what?
Why is there better parenting? What he's trying to say is, you said bad parenting.
Well, I said
so. Why is there better
culturally-
parenting from
culturally
Asians
teaching-
and white parents?
Yeah,
Correct.
culturally, the educational mindset, culturally, when
it all comes back
among
to
Asians,
choice.
they're taught from young
Yes.
that's primary.
Sure.
Over anything else, entertainment,
Also obeying the law.
how you dress, none of that matters.
And it's
Up here matters.
right,
Yeah,
and they're
I
also
agree.
about 3 to
Right.
4 times more likely to have a father in the household than a black.
That too. That too.
Why is this disproportionately affecting this one community? Because I have a question because I actually have, like, my uncle, my aunt's married to a black dude, one of the most accomplishment of all time. Helicopter pilot, national park ranger, served his country, has a Ferrari in the driveway, right? He wears, crew socks, so we can forgive him for some things. But my whole life I've had this great black role model in my life. But then I try to ask questions, and I have a hard time asking him because I don't want to upset that relationship.
You're being responsible with your words.
So I want to ask now, we
Doesn't
talk.
help that you look like you're in the Third Reich.
I'm not even going to take the hat off. But then if you talk about there's no power. Well, we were talking about Charlotte, and you said the black activist judge. Well, in Charlotte, it's not just the black activist judge. It's the DA that's black that instituted those policies. It's a black mayor. So could we at least agree, before the civil rights movement and now, do blacks have more or less institutional power?
There's been some bad and some good that came
We have
along
less
with the civil
institutional
rights
power,
movement.
but you know,
Before the civil rights
but you know what we don't have?
Well,
we,
No, we
as
more.
a community, we don't have the unity.
Well, here's the problem we have.
So the last thing I want to ask,
I
and I'm
want to
sorry,
ask
I'll
you a
get
question
it.
before you say the last thing you want to
It
ask.
kind of all throws together, and I'll just
Yeah, the black community, I think, is sorely in need of a decent leader, a decent, talking head. Because right now, the only 2 choices you have are Tariq Nasheed, who I think is a complete idiot, and Dr. Umar Johnson, who is a scammer and a con artist. He's a con man. So, you don't have a King, you don't have a Malcolm X. And then all these other people, you have your Maxine Waters, your who else? There's another person who's escaping my mind. But right now, a lot of these people are either Democrat shills, perpetual victim mindset, constantly complaining about systemic racism, institutional racism, while taking no personal accountability. Those people infuriate me to no end. And then, of course, you have Tariq Nasheed, classic race hustler. And it's like Tariq Nasheed has not built a school. He hasn't started a think tank. He hasn't. What has Tariq Nasheed done to improve the institutional power of black people? What has he done to advocate improvements to black American culture? Nothing. All he does is complain about white people and immigrants all day. That's it. That's all he does. And I don't really see that as being positive or beneficial. at all in the long run. And Dr. Umar Johnson is kind of similar. And, Dr. Umar Johnson, he's charismatic. He's on the internet. He's doing all these podcasts. It's fun for the views. It's fun for the clicks. But fundamentally, how is he changing culture either? He's not. He's not. So, I don't know. But right now, black people absolutely have more institutional power than they did before the Civil Rights Act. That should be obvious. That goes without saying. You got all kinds of black mayors, black city officials, black people who are chief of police or whatever. These people they're everywhere, and a lot of them get put into these positions because of, they're black. And it's not because they're not qualified necessarily, but it's because, it's more of a symbolic gesture. When you have a black person who's chief of police, it makes it easier to deflect from that police department being, racist or white supremacist and whatnot. So there's optics reasons for it. But yeah, no, I mean, post-Civil Rights Act, post-Civil Rights Movement, there has been no cohesive, collective movement for Black Americans that's unified, that presents or provides something transcendent. So,
let you go.
Okay, go ahead.
Is why was the black community one of the fastest growing economic demographics in the country? Why were there tons of fathers in the household? Black people were becoming great role models and integrating into society naturally. And now it's substantially worse
than
it was before Martin Luther King.
You know why it's worse?
Yeah.
Because of the fact that and I'm gonna say this openly because I can't get into the specifics, but I work for an entity that I was flabbergasted to learn this. All right, and what we do is we provide Medicaid, right? And this is a former campaign I worked on, and I was.
In too many cities, dangerous illegals walk free as police are forced to stand down. Join.
Awestruck when I would have white females that would call, and they would call on behalf of their entire family, which included the husband, right? So many people say, well, the welfare queen is having more children because she gets more food stamps. Well, here's how it really works, and I can tell you this from firsthand knowledge, right? Let's say I've got a household of a wife and a husband, and I've got 4 kids. That household can earn up to $6,900, right? And here's what happens. Even if the husband is in the household, many times they're self-employed. So, of course, you can skew the numbers any way you want. And you and your family will continue to get full health care. A black mother is always told if there's a man in the house, number one, then it's a no-go, okay? Look at the Section 8 Housing Authority. Now, here's what happened, and you want to know what happened, what caused
I agree with everything you're saying.
Yeah, what caused the problem in Black America, what caused the problem in Black America is the fact that when the father became absent in the home, right? When he became absent in the home, it left.
Yeah, Section 8, SNAP, WIC, food stamps, all that kind of stuff. That did a number on the black community. That's why if it was up to me, I'd cut all that. If I was, in the Treasury Department and I was handling the way funds are being administered, I would cut the entire Social Security, the entire welfare, Section 8. I cut all of that from the federal budget. It's a huge pit. It's like 13% of the federal budget. It takes like $4 trillion a year, $3 trillion a year. It's a huge money pit. And a lot of the black people who are on it are not being improved by it. You know what I mean? It's not really helping them materially advance. You turn it into a hammock.
Left the mothers to bear the brunt. So to answer your question, do we have more influence in some areas? Perhaps, but ask yourself this: do we have more influence economically? Because if you go back and you look, prior to the civil rights movement, let me tell you something right now. You had more black carpenters and tradesmen all over the place.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, that's right. But the problem is, again, if you agree with that, then you'll agree with the fact that if it had not been for the change in the systemic dynamics, that black men would still be in the home or what have you.
Right.
And the black family would still be doing it.
Federal government policy has not been instituted to help black people ever, but really to make them dependents of the state when they were doing just damn fine without the federal government that you want in more people's lives.
The only reason why
It's almost like reparations would be the same thing.
My question to that is, why is that a problem for white America? And we were already...
Because it's one country.
Because it's what?
We are one country, and the problems of one community...
We're not one country. We're an entity. We're a corporation. The United States is a corporation. It's not a country.
Oh, I hate that. I hate when people say that. This is a goddamn country. This is not a corporation. Yes, is it true we have sold out and given up a lot of our independence and sovereignty to foreign governments and transnational corporations, yes, obviously, but we are a country. We are a nation. We are an empire. And we have a shared collective consciousness in terms of history, shared political frame of reference, communities, families, nation, blood. Yes, that is a real thing. We have lineage here, black and white people, and other groups of people as well. We are more than just a goddamn corporation. We are people. We are humans. And this country is our birthright. People should not forget that. This country is our birthright. You need to treat it that way. You need to look at it that way. This country is your birthright. It's all of our birthright. And to just throw your hands up in the air and say, well, it's a corporation, we've given it up, that is not how a human, a citizen, a member of a nation, a member of a civilization should think. You say, this is mine, this is my birthright, this is our country, and we're going to fight and die for it. Anything besides that is, I don't even want to hear it.
It certainly is. And with that attitude, we can never be a country. If that's the attitude.
Right.
Because it's not a country.
Right.
It's never built. It's written in the Constitution. It's a corporation.
That is not.
What is he talking about? No, it's nowhere in the Constitution does it say that. You know, I love black people, but you know, a lot of them be making up bullshit when it comes to history. I'm gonna keep it a bean. You know, you got people like Tariq Nasheed saying black people were the real Native Americans, the real Aboriginals. Dude, there's no evidence of that. We gotta be real about the history. There's books that talk about black history in Western civilization, in Latin America, in medieval Europe, in America, prior to this country's formation, prior to the formalization of this country in 1783. There's books that talk about this, but it just pull shit out of your ass like that. You can't, it's just a bad look. It's a bad look. Don't do that. It makes you look illegitimate.
Not written in the.
That is not written in the Constitution.
Nowhere in the Constitution.
It's not a country. So what I'm saying is, when we were black people in our own communities thriving, like you said, doing our own thing, why was that a problem for white America? We were doing our own thing. Why did y'all come and burn down?
Because of the reason why, I'm not going to keep pausing because this is a long video. The reason why Lyndon B. Johnson passed the Civil Rights Act to begin with, one, was because it was in the middle of the Cold War. And the Soviet Union was using propaganda against the United States to say, hey, how is this country, the United States, supposed to be this Western liberal democracy that promotes human rights globally, but then they're segregating and oppressing their own population, i.e. black people? That's the one reason why they passed the Civil Rights Act, to give everybody equal rights. And the second reason is because black people were, and you know, various other groups were creating like huge societal instability in the 60s, and so that kind of forced him into a position where he had to pass it.
The Black Wall Street, we had our thing going. Why is it an issue when we have our own thing going and we're minding our business? White America comes in and figure out a reason to, oh, that's wrong. Y'all are doing something wrong. That's not by the code. No, that's not by the code.
It's a form of ethnocentrism. That's why white people in the past, they would attack these black centers of wealth. Wilmington, North Carolina, you know, Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's when they always talk about Black Wall Street. It's a part of group identity. Everybody needs self-esteem. Everybody needs dignity. Everybody needs self-esteem. And for a lot of people, identifying with a particular group is where they get their source of self-esteem, whether it's race, whether it's ethnicity. So when that group does well, they feel good. When that group does poorly, they feel bad because their self-esteem is tied to this group. And so as a part of fulfilling your self-esteem, you develop an ego around your race. And you have to feel as if your race, your ethnicity, your whatever is better than somebody else's. And you have to demonstrate that. And that promotes antagonism. That promotes competition, which leads to things like what we saw with, I'm getting a situation like what you see with you know, the Tulsa, Oklahoma bombings and stuff like that.
No one here's trying to justify.
Sorry, my dog's going crazy right now. I don't know why. Just for no reason.
By clear racist policy of the past or racism of the past, of course that existed. No one was arguing that.
Here's the thing. We're not arguing. I'm saying why
it sounds like you're saying that you would want racial segregation, because you're saying
worse than segregation. We ask for equality. We didn't get that.
But you're saying
Because
your own
when we
community
started
doing your own
going to
thing.
do our
The country is still segregated.
own thing,
Are you saying that we should be
y'all
separate communities? That's what I'm asking. Are you saying we should be separate white and black communities? That's what it sounds like a little bit.
separation may be the answer.
Okay. I
Separation could be the
appreciate your
answer.
honesty. I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah, separation.
I actually strongly disagree. And this is why it's funny. I think the opposite is actually the correct solution, more integration. I think it's like you can't assimilate people if there's no proximity. If black and white and Hispanic people in America and people don't understand how big this country is. The difference, the distance between LA and Maine, like Bangor, Maine, the difference between LA and Bangor, Maine is greater than the distance between Portugal and Ukraine. And there's 4 countries in between Portugal and Ukraine: Spain, Germany, France, and there's one more, Poland. 4 huge European countries. And it's like if black, Hispanic, white, Asian, whatever, all grow up separate from each other in a country with this many non-whites, this amount of diversity, you can't assimilate. It's just fundamentally impossible. You're going to have 4 different Americas. You have to force people to integrate. You have to force people to assimilate. Otherwise, this country is going to fuck itself over. It's going to turn into a confederacy or various different political factions, racial, religious, whatever groups breaking apart and vying and jockeying for control over this country. You got to do what Singapore did on some level. Singapore is a small island, but there's 6 million people in Singapore on that tiny island. And it's very well integrated, and it's very modern and very stable. So you can't complain about assimilation Nick Fuentes, I think, has called himself a separatist, although I think he's changed his tune recently. You cannot complain about people not assimilating and then say, well, we need our own separate communities. That's like hypocritical. You can't say black people won't assimilate, Hispanics won't assimilate, Asians won't assimilate, and then white people don't have any community, any schooling, any public interaction with any of these groups. You can't complain about them not assimilating if that's the approach. It's just, it's not right. It doesn't make sense.
It could be that.
What if a white person says that? Is it racist?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But I think that's completely fair. I think we should.
That's fair.
But if you're saying it in a narrative that we're a threat to you guys, so that's why we want to be separate.
But you just said that white people are a threat to black people. That's what you just said. So why can't white people say it? And I don't think separation is the answer.
I didn't say that. I said you guys find a problem with everything that we do.
If separation is the answer,
yeah, well, reparations, come on with it.
So, who gets
reparations doesn't make any sense. If you're going to do reparations, you have to do it in the form of institution building, improving schools, banking, increasing everybody's material interest. Because reparations, if you do it in the form of a check, the Japanese, they only got $25,000 per person. That's nothing. You know, you give a bunch of black people a check, even if it's $50,000, $75,000 per black person, that is not enough. That money will evaporate within 10 to 20 years, if that. So checks are not the answer. You're not going to get $1 million per person. That's just not going to happen. The Japanese got 25,000. And black people, if they were to get a check from the federal government, it'd probably be something along those lines. 50,000, 75,000. You know, people saying 100,000, $1 million. There's no way that happens. And the other thing is, we need to be more interested in absolute gain rather than relative gain. Because what happens is, when it comes to reparations, a lot of black people would rather make a relative gain, which is to say, they'd rather get $50,000 in the form of a check, in the form of reparations, as opposed to an absolute gain, which is to say everybody, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, all of them benefit from increased federal funding on schools, increased federal funding on infrastructure and public transportation and community investment. Then everybody benefits. Black people make an absolute gain in that situation rather than a relative gain, which is just everybody gets a check, but no other racial group benefits. You need to focus on absolute gain because that's going to be best in the long run for this country, for black people, for everybody. So I don't like the whole reparations in the form of a cash, in the form of a check. I think that's not going to solve the deeply ingrained problems in low-income communities.
the reparations?
The whole black American descendants of slavery, the people that have been wrong.
Dude, the the reparations in the form of a check thing, it's such a grift. I hate it.
For so many years.
America.
The government that's taking from us.
Hey, Ukraine. I ain't never personally asked
You don't have to tell me twice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Like, why are we paying that?
Right, so
I agree with you. How about we pay none of it? Let people make their own decision.
Money would just go back to reparations. That's the system.
To answer the question of who should pay,
He has a microphone on. We can't even hear his audio.
Yeah.
the federal government should be on the hook for some of that. But every single company that benefited from chattel slavery, all the insurance companies, all the freight companies, all of those companies that existed then, that still exist now in some name, shape, or form, they should have to pay into that because they all profited for it. Just think about this.
Yep.
You insured a slave. When you bought a slave,
Look at this dude. He's got it. This is crazy to be walking around like this. This is insane. What is this guy wearing? Jesus Christ.
you got insurance on that slave. That insurance company made money off of that. And they built up into
What percentage of the workforce in the United States do you think were actually slaves here in this country? Because that might.
I don't know what the percentage was, but I know all the hard work. I know who did all the hard work.
No.
I know
you know
who
what?
did-
You
I know
just said
who
the
worked
railroads.
7 days.
You just said the railroads. Why aren't the Chinese immigrants asking for reparations?
Because they've already been gifted what they were going to give.
You did what?
We did it
He's just talking.
You did it full?
for them.
No, the Chinese built the railroads. The Chinese were slaves. They built the railroads.
We did that for them.
No. The Chinese were the majority of the slaves building railroads.
Now, on
They
the
didn't get
railroad
reparations. They don't want it.
Well, I tell you what. Next time we'll have you.
By the way, fun fact, a lot of the Japanese people who were offered reparations rejected them because they didn't want a handout. They understood. Because it's true, you had Japanese submarines on the coast of California, on the coast of Hawaii, and a lot of the Japanese people understood why the government was doing what it was doing, which is why they rejected that $25,000. I guess they understood. By the way, I'd be interested to find out what was $25,000 in those days. What does that equate to today? I don't know.
A Chinese dude in here, so you can ask him that. I don't give a I'm talking about black people.
Can you guys deal with the straight hair like that?
People.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's another misconception that we get all the time, too.
We can cut any kind of hair. But we're talking about what black people. Hold on. We're talking about where the money's supposed to come from. It's companies that are trillion-dollar, billion-dollar companies that started in the 1600s, 1700s, that are still around, and they benefited and profited immensely from that.
What if it's a company that never had slaves? Should they pay reparations?
No, not that the company had slaves, but we had companies that insured slaves. You had companies that transported slaves.
But what if it's a company that did none of it? Should they pay?
No, if they didn't have anything to do with chattel slavery, no, they
Right.
shouldn't.
Neither
but
did
the
I.
companies that should.
But let me say this.
But your grandfather,
But you understand the point?
But if your grandfather was here in the United States, I don't know. You said you from Canada. I don't know. We not worried about it. We're worried about the people.
What if
that
your
were here.
grandfather was a slave owner and mine wasn't?
My grandfather was.
What if he was? But my point is, what if he was? Because
my grandfather was a sharecropper in Plaquemine, Louisiana, in a little small town called Bayagula. So he was 2 generations removed from slavery. So I know I have a root in slavery.
Okay.
Somebody owned my great-great-grandfather.
What if I have no root in slavery?
Well, you don't owe nothing. You don't owe anything. Your grandfather, if your grandfather from Canada, he wasn't down here owning slaves.
Okay,
I'm
just trying to. So then people who didn't own,
down here telling
we don't
niggas
pay
what to do,
reparations.
he owe money.
Here's what I'm telling you, though. Hold on a second. Here's what I'm telling you. If you're to go through the numbers, so do we agree? If I have no connection to slavery whatsoever, that I don't owe. Me.
You don't.
We agree.
Don't.
Okay. So do you realize that you could take all the white people in this country, and if you're going to add up everyone where you could actually trace the lineage to slave owners or had any involvement, you would end up with maybe 2 or 3%. 2 or 3% of white people in this country.
There go them numbers. There go them numbers. You throw out. There go them numbers. There go them.
Most of us have.
Well, I mean, what else is he gonna use? Not numbers? What do you? What?
Somebody did it.
Can I fairly?
Somebody did.
Yeah,
And somebody
Africans
owed.
sold them into slavery.
Somebody owed.
It's still going on right now.
Somebody owed.
There are more slaves on earth right now than ever. Did you know that?
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. We're not gonna really get to the heart of it. Let me ask you this: are you aware of what's going on with McDonald's right now?
McDonald's the company?
Yeah, McDonald's the company.
I'm aware they can't get my fillet of fish right anytime I go.
That's
Let me
true.
tell you what's really happening. I got a friend of mine who currently has 5 McDonald's locations, right? So there are many times he says, Cedric, sometimes I've got to get up at nighttime to go and check, even if the chiller goes out, right? So I said, man, why is that so? What's really happening? He said, Cedric, what happens is there are most black franchisees, right, that own these McDonald's. He said we have to get them in the most low-performing areas, right? Never mind the fact that we make the same investment up front to purchase one of those McDonald's, right? So when you talk about that, let's look at the systemic and institutional biases that are involved just in that. You tell me I got to pay you $1 million to get a McDonald's, right? Same thing as my white counterpart. But yet, I'm relegated to take a McDonald's in an area that's probably highly impoverished. I've got to keep coming up with all kind of gimmicks to keep the foot traffic coming through the stores. Where nobody talks about that.
Well, what about the flip side of it?
What happens on the flip side?
What about the flip side of it? What about the fact that you have the government that has grants that they invest in black-owned businesses that don't happen for white people?
Let me ask you this, Steve. It's funny you.
Does that even it out?
But no. But
because that exists.
That's true. You say that these grants exist for black people, but let me ask you.
Okay, but my point is actually both sides of that coin, right?
Yeah,
It exists for a reason.
We'll go there.
Why? What's the reason?
The reason is based on what he's saying. That's why it's an appropriate.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you use his example of the McDonald's, what would be the reason for relegating?
The American federal government shut down.
This is why you shouldn't
paychecks
watch
frozen,
stuff on Rumble,
offices
'cause of all these
closed,
ads.
citizens abandoned. But hidden
the black owners to the low
Well, first
income
of all,
neighborhoods.
I don't know. I'm not able to verify that all that's factual. I know. Were you told you could only open here in nice?
Huh?
Were you told you could only open here in a nice?
Well, this is Steve's shop, but no.
Okay. Well, my point is,
but see, you have
it's
to
not just
understand
McDonald's.
something. Before you answer that question, you have to understand something. There's a difference in McDonald's and what have you.
Yeah,
Because the way that's structured, the way that hierarchical structure runs,
get it.
they will designate you certain areas of what have you that you will be awarded a location in. You just don't have the right to say, okay, I'm paying $1 million.
That's the same for everyone. That's the same for everyone. I know a guy. Well, he just died not too long ago. He had a bunch of which I don't know how they're still around. It's disgusting. But
neither do I.
That's awful. I have never had a good meal at but he had to be in certain too because they had to displace his franchise investment, right? That's part of it, where he was like, this one place is killing me, but as long as I get this spot, when I average out the 4 spots, okay, I can turn a profit. So this isn't unique to the black community. What is unique is investments from the federal government and state government into black-owned businesses to rectify it that white people don't get. So it's not enough. So what would be enough?
Because of historical injustices that have been done to impede black businesses. So
it's not enough now, but what would be enough?
You have to ask yourself, why would they do that? Why would they pay that?
What's the number?
Oh, because historically,
that's my point. What's the number, right? Public Department of Education, Great Society, Model Cities Program, black businesses, Pell Grants, Affirmative Action, DEI. It's not enough. What's the number that's enough?
Once again, just like we said about the civil rights movement, about the education and all that, you can do certain things in the name of doing the right thing, but you do it wrong. So
what's the number?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't personally have an answer to that question.
One moment, just one second. Would you agree that
the answer is there is no number until there's complete equity. That's that's what they're basically saying. I mean, no, you have to get to a point where you're bringing up everybody's material standards. That's it. It's that simple.
That if a young person,
because then you make an absolute gain rather than a relative gain,
who has no connection to slavery whatsoever, you probably need a number for them. Otherwise, they're probably going to be pissed.
They didn't need a number for Ukraine. They paid them same taxes. They didn't need a number for how much
You're
we were going to pay.
You're talking about reparations to a young person, right, in the name of sins of forefathers. My point is, what's the number? Because the number now is trillions of dollars. I get it. The government screws everything up, and I will agree on that. What's the number? You're sitting down right now with a 22-year-old white kid.
Give my daughter $15 million and we'll call it sports.
$50 million?
$15 million a piece. We'll call it sports.
That's crazy.
That's for me and for them.
$50 million, okay.
$15 million.
Did he say 50?
A lot of people don't care about this.
He said 50 million or 15 million. That's crazy. Either way, that's insane. 15 million or 50 million is crazy. I mean, I guess if you make every black person, I mean, that would ruin this. That would end this country. That would end this country. If you gave every black person in America $15 million or $50 million, dude, white people would be in there with tiki torches and AK-47s. That would send this country, that would send this country into schizo mode. Like 100%.
Taxes, add an extra 2% to what you pay in taxes. How about that?
It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. That's
2%.
insane.
That's a number.
2% for how long?
Let's see. How long it was?
So 2% only for white people who have a connection to slavery at their forefathers, right?
How long were we in slavery?
You'd end up with no money.
200 and...
You'd end up with zero money. You'd each end up with about $14.99.
You keep letting our people off the
But
hook,
that's what I'm
though.
saying.
The government
I'm talking about the government paying taxes. I'm not talking about just people
bears
who are responsible.
taking this.
Once
They
again,
got to
I'm
pay.
not responsible for anything happening in Ukraine, but I'm paying for it.
I agree.
So why should that rationale not transfer to this?
Because it's rationale.
It's not when the it's not when the United States is the person the people who perpetrate.
Well, that's why I need to ask the number, because if you're talking about more than $15 per black person, you're talking about trillions of dollars.
Right, but if we're going to be a part of the same country, like Lane said, we're going to all be a part and members of the same country.
God, $15 million per person. That's wild. And you didn't even go through it either. That's insane. You didn't even go through it. Holy shit. That's insane. I'm sorry, that's just wild. That is insanity.
Well, we have to take on what comes with that. What comes with that is historically, every time like Chris said earlier, every time black people have achieved in mass, it's been torn down.
No.
And then you get to a point
Unless you're
where
talking about the riots, yeah.
Then you get to a point where you're like, I can mention there's several black communities that's under lakes. There's one that's under Central Park in New York. Like, there's plenty. But my point is,
we need to see Tariq Nasheed versus Steven Crowder. That would break the internet. We need to see that. That'd be funny.
Then you get to a point where you say, okay, we're going to do this in the interest of justice. But then redlining and all that stuff happens. And then the prison industrial complex, all of that stuff that happens that adds to the wrong of it, it gets mixed in and say, well, yeah, we tried, and you should just be happy with it.
Here's the problem. What you just said, it was the rhetoric and the reasoning behind catch and release, doing away with the three-strike policy. You point to New York. You got a black mayor and crime got worse.
Because he's a criminal.
And because you got 30 million people living in a
white guy before me.
Hey, he's not wrong. Eric Adams is a corrupt SOB.
He was grabbing every guinea intern.
And probably the white guy that put him in his spot.
Okay, so it's worse. In other words, it's worse, right? Mm-hmm. Because of the prison industrial complex. That's why that guy was out 14 times.
But I'm saying that's why George Floyd was out 9 times. That's also why you have less fathers. That's why you have less fathers in the home. So redlining and the prison industrial complex is the two main caveats to less fathers in the home.
We've done the opposite of the prison industrial complex. Violent offenders are being released into society and committing crime in record numbers right now.
And nonviolent offenders are being held on petty charges.
No, they're not.
I've personally done the numbers on it.
How did that guy get out after 14 times? George Floyd 9 times. Do you realize 11 times arrested is the average murderer?
And you got people in there for weed.
I mean, those are in democratic cities, though. So I'd like to see what the numbers are in Republican areas. It's probably a lot different.
Charges that's in there for
it's not a thing. It's less than 0.5% personally of federal penitentiaries.
And that's the thing. When you tell somebody that personal knowledge don't matter because the stats matter more, I personally know this. I know somebody right now that's in jail for small shit, but I know somebody else that did some big shit and they out.
Small shit. Keep defining. So he had a joint on him.
Selling weed.
He's in prison right now because he had a joint,
but a small amount.
One time he got caught selling. One time a small joint he was selling.
No,
let's talk about small things. Let's talk about it.
What is it really? That's what I'm saying. If you want to frame it in the one-time small joint, that's a straw man argument. I'm saying.
What is he in for?
I don't know how much he had, but it was.
And one time?
It wasn't. Yeah, it was one time.
He got caught one time selling.
No, I don't know. It wasn't his first time. No.
Okay, so he got caught multiple times.
Yeah.
And he was selling weed.
But every time wasn't the same thing.
Do you know how many people die from lace weed?
I don't.
You know about the fentanyl problem in this country?
Yeah, I do know about fentanyl.
You know that most people aren't trying to get fentanyl, right?
But
weed itself never killed anybody.
I'm about to say fentanyl ain't our thing.
No, what I'm saying is, do you realize why trafficking drugs is a problem? You said a little thing. Can I tell you that if I had a white friend who was caught trafficking drugs, and I don't think weed should be outlawed, by the way, it's bullshit. Just to be clear. But if I had a white friend who was arrested the umpteenth time for selling a brick of weed, I would go, yeah, that makes sense. We would expect it.
Not for weed.
Of course.
Not for me.
Selling weed, yeah. Selling a giant brick of weed multiple times, yes. Yes,
and
those are choices.
And at the same time, I know people personally that like, you got dudes out here like selling all kinds of other shit. I ain't gonna even put names on it, but you got dudes out here selling all kinds of other shit and they free. They've been arrested a couple times too, but they back out.
But at what point do we say, hey, you know what? Once you've been arrested for trafficking, for selling drugs, if you do it again, that's kind of on you.
Cocaine, man, we'll let you back out for cocaine. Oh, meth, don't worry about it. Sit in the pen for a couple years.
You said a little thing. That's not a little thing.
Weed? Oh no, 8 to 9 years, you done.
Okay, how about this?
Yeah, selling. If you're a certified drug dealer, and you're selling ounces and ounces and ounces of weed, yeah, obviously at that point, it's like no shit, you're gonna get in trouble. That's insane.
Someone who goes out and commits multiple crimes and felonies, if we do doesn't,
because it's like how are you getting that amount of weed?
Get any reparations. Because the white kid who didn't break the law,
if you know, if you're not growing it, then you're getting it from somebody else who probably traffics drugs.
Never had any slaves, and his forefathers shouldn't be paying for someone who's a serial offender. Could we do that math? Would that be fair?
No.
Nope? Okay.
No.
Absolutely.
And the reason why, once again, because you're starting.
I'm trying to find some common ground, because that white kid.
And I'm trying to tell you, you're trying to start the starting point right here when you're not factoring in what happened to get that kid in that low-income, impoverished environment that created the criminal that he ended up being.
Oh my God, this is what we do. It's not crime, it's poverty. Then why do poor white people not commit violent crime at the same time?
There's multiple answers for that, but one of them being they live in it is cultural, obviously. Let's not kid ourselves. But another one is they do live in these rural areas. They're a lot more spread out. I think they generally have more. I think a lot of them own their property. A lot of them own those homes, own these vehicles out there in West Virginia, out there in the South. They own those things, passed down through generations. So there's less of an incentive to take things from other people.
Same rate.
They do.
No, they don't.
They're still poor, but like they own the stuff that only poor people can own.
It's usually different types of crime.
No, they do not.
They do.
It's a fact, dude.
Y'all just shovel them all
They
in the
just
trailer
different
park.
types. Yeah, they just different types of crime. And then they go off.
We don't shovel them in the trailer park. They steal.
They go off in the hills and live amongst the rest of the toothless hillbillies, but they do.
You don't hear it.
Yeah, they just don't.
We're talking about statistical realities.
There's no cameras over there.
The young white male, when the young white male is the real threat to America as it stands.
You know what? You're right. I agree. You're right about that. Because young white males are going to be the majority with guns, and if you keep telling them that they're fucking criminals and they should pay for people's bad decisions, you don't want to see them angry. Because they've never been angry. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at young men, and they're way, way more angry than I ever was.
Well, if they're that angry, why they could? If
they're getting their ass kicked.
If they're that angry, why are they only killing each other in their communities? When's the last time you? I mean, how many? Let's look at recently.
That's a good question. Why are they not killing black people?
No, you know.
Why are young white people not?
Here's the point. Because they're able to.
A lot of them fantasize about it.
Understand that these are not the problem. They're not. Listen, they're able to understand that. You know what? Perhaps I've been looking at it and I've been taught wrong. Maybe the problem lies with the person who I've been looking up to for all my guidance. Because listen, I mean, think about it. Even with the most, and let me tell you this. I'm going on record and saying.
Lord have mercy.
I don't care who you are and what your political dissidence is. There's no justification for going out taking the life of someone. Just because you have a different opinion of mine doesn't mean I'm going to get angry enough to say I'm going to go out and shoot you, right? When everybody asks me, because I got people who ask me, man, what did you think about this incident with Charlie Kirk? I say, you know what? People are not going to want to talk about it.
Another ad coming.
But this here was
ringing in your ears. Your brain is crying for help.
Anyone who doesn't treat ear ringing is definitely not being smart.
Come on.
Really a situation where this kid more than likely wasn't angry because of what was happening in black America.
No, he wasn't. That wasn't.
He was angry because of the fact that Charlie Kirk had a different opinion about people who are homosexuals. You understand what I'm talking about? Yeah. And that was the cause that I believe in my mind personally that led him to say, you know what, this has got to be stopped because of the fact this guy is talking about someone who I love, okay? So let's talk about that. That crime really probably could be looked at more as a crime of passion versus a political outcry for difference. You understand?
No, it's political assassination.
It's
but
political.
Here's one thing we can all agree on, right? The guy who shot Charlie Kirk, okay, his roommate, his lover, was a dude who was claiming he was transitioning to a woman. You're just fucking gay at that point,
You're just gay. Let's call it for what it is.
Right? Yeah.
You're just gay.
We all agree on that.
He said, let's call it for what it is.
My question is, like, out of that tragedy, why did the next day black communities have to get threats?
They did.
Yes, they did. Southern University.
You're talking.
Personally
you're
tied
talking to the
Southern
wrong
University.
guy, pal.
No, I'm just asking.
I can tell you who got the
Southern
threats.
University in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
I'm personally tied to that school.
No, you know who got the threats? Let me
Southern
explain.
University got one.
You're turning this into a race thing where I agreed that it's not. But let me tell you something. Every single vigil, every single memorial, where, by the way, both black and white conservatives tried to mourn peacefully their own, desecrated, attacked, assaults, even in war, they let you bury your dead. And that's because of radical LGBTQAIP. That's not a race thing at all, but it's the same wing that's pushing reparations. So when you're linking arms with them, we need to hear you disown those people, too.
So here's the thing. There's a
those
large
two problems should not be tied together.
Hold on, let me finish.
Joy Reid
There's
does.
a large contingent of Black America that does disown them. They don't speak for us.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, on the right, there's the Jared Taylors and all of these different people, these super Christian nationalist dudes. I don't see nobody on the right separating themselves from him.
Well, we don't need to, because Richard Spencer and David Duke voted for Biden and Harris. Sorry, David Duke endorsed Jill Stein.
Richard Spencer, though.
What I'm saying is white supremacists don't.
Oh my God, dude. It's funny that he brought that up. Richard Spencer's political arc is the craziest thing ever. I swear to God, it's insane. His political arc is so crazy. How did he go from like staunch neo-Nazi alt-right to thinking like Trump was going to be like the godfather to the alt-right movement? And then he turns into like a liberal internationalist, liberal hegemony. Liberal hegemony. Ah! Richard Spencer is a character. That political arc is crazy. And Jared Taylor's just he's just a freak. I mean, nobody in academia takes Jared Taylor seriously, so it's not worth taking the guy seriously.
Just don't vote Republican.
Jared
vote
Taylor,
Democrat.
Jared Taylor did, and he encouraged all of his people to.
Jared Taylor is not the first off. He's not.
Jared Taylor's clicked in with Patriot Front. He's doing speaking engagements and hosting conferences in Tennessee. There's this one park in Tennessee where they all hang out. There's like a white nationalist compound out there. He goes and hangs out with those guys. I want to see what they have to say. This is interesting, though.
Not in charge of the KKK or like that. He's one who's talked about race and IQ. And I don't know that he did vote for Donald Trump, but I do know that actually
people, the Patriot Front and all of them dudes subscribe to that.
That's right. That's
There's
true.
nothing that's conservative about white supremacy. That's why they don't vote conservative. They vote Democrat. They're so.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's just cap. That's just cap. Proud Boys stand down. That's just cap. No, of course, Patriot Front and I mean, there are rumors going around that ICE is recruiting from these white nationalist groups. That's why they have these people all masked up. They got people from the Oath Keepers, 3%ers, Base, Adam Waffen, I don't know, Patriot Front to basically carry out these ICE operations. That's just the rumor on the street. I don't know if that's true. But no, these far-right, right-wing militias are obviously more pro-Trump. They were all hanging out on January 6th, rallying for Trump. Patriot Front was out there. A bunch of other militias were out there too. So this is just not true. Nice try, though, Stephen.
Socialists. But the issue here that we're talking about is, again, I agree with you on Charlie Kirk. It's not political. That's why I'm going, I don't think that you realize you pivoted it into a race issue and said black people were more at risk.
Well, you just asked why we didn't separate ourselves from the
No,
extremists.
I
and
said
I'm saying,
after.
why don't y'all separate yourselves from the extremists?
Well, of course we do.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm telling you, they suck.
I haven't seen that. I personally haven't seen that.
We all do. It's never enough.
I pay attention to all that stuff.
We all do. Donald Trump did. He was still able to read. He said, I'm not talking about white supremacists and neo-Nazis who are horrible and should be condemned totally. The media cut it out. Did you know that?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. You probably heard he said there were fine people on both sides, right?
I heard that clip.
Right before that, he goes, look, I'm not saying white supremacists are neo-Nazis who should be condemned totally, but outside of that, you had on this monument argument, fine people on both sides.
And you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
Why do you think the media lied to you?
But if if that's true, then let me ask.
That's my first time seeing that whole clip, by the way. And that's been the narrative for 8 years now. That's my first time seeing that entire clip. Changes things a bit.
It is true. I can show you the clip.
Well, why did he not sue those media networks like he said when the interview with Kamala Harris was edited?
He did, and he won.
Well, why was that not publicized?
Why do you think? Do you think the news agencies want to publicize their losers?
That was going to be my next point. Is media does what it does on both sides.
No, the media is incredibly left.
That's the point.
If
That's
you
the
line up
problem
the
we always
media,
have is because when one person says, "Well, there's problems on your."
The media is incredibly left. Well, I think a lot of it is, but Fox, OAN, Newsmax, New York Post, not all of them. There's a lot of conservative right-wing media out there.
Side too.
Sure.
You say, well, no, you dismiss those, and you say, we're just going to point to your problem.
But it is.
No, name me one right-wing source of media. Name me one outside of Fox News.
Acknowledging y'all's.
New York
Name me
Post,
one outside of Fox News.
OAN,
ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, CNBC,
Newsmax.
MSNBC. Local. Name me one outside of Fox News.
Local news.
That's conservative. You can't.
Right, Bart?
That's not a mainstream outlet, right, Bart?
it's
Then we could go Salon. Then we could go HuffPo.
Yep.
For years in this country, ABC, NBC, CBS. Now you go CNBC, MSNBC, CNN.
And once again, all of them.
He says they're left. They're more like, they're kind of left.
Are left.
All of them got their
They're like center left.
All of them are left.
Yeah, all of them got their
New York Times, Washington Post. Go.
I don't like the word left because left, they're more like liberal, because liberal can be, there's a range of liberal, I don't know about left. Left feels, I don't know. Because there's times when there will be a right-wing protest against an LGBTQ plus group in Seattle or wherever else, and then the local media or all the news coverage will be like, both sides were clashing, even though the right wing or the Christian side was obviously being more provocative. They'll kind of draw a false equivalency. So they're kind of left, but they're not super left.
Room, right? We have to agree on that. Hey, that's why you were lied to.
But that's the thing. People lose the ability to think critically, think for themselves, and they just lean whatever way the publication or the platform is telling them.
Right.
Now, it's up to people that run these platforms and publications to be responsible with their words and how they're leading people. But you got one half of the country that's purely led to think that these people are bad, and then that's all it is. It's just
I think they're bad. I think people who cut out Donald Trump saying, not saying white supremacists and who should be condemned. I think the media that cut out on January 6th, where he said, of course, make your voices heard peacefully, patriotically, but peaceful. You have to be peaceful.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
And they cut that out. I think that
media
is bad.
Statement when this is the same guy who says if you want the country, come down to D.C. and fight like hell or not. He did
in that same speech. He said, "Fight like hell, peacefully, has to be done peacefully." You know who else said fight like hell? Kamala Harris.
But that's the biggest argument. Well, how can you have a peaceful fight? Somebody says, you know what? I'm going to tap you like that.
We're going to act like fight like hell is an expression. Oh, come on, you're smarter than that. Fight like hell is an expression. Joy Reid uses it. Kamala Harris uses it. Biden uses it. Barack Obama used it.
Yeah, but if you're getting millions of people to come out there and protest, you kind of know Trump's not a dumb guy. Things could get out of hand.
Single one.
Let me ask you a question,
violence to Donald Trump. That's bullshit.
All of those platforms, networks that you and Travis just so eloquently exchanged.
Mine was not eloquent.
How many of those are ran by black people? None of them. We don't control shit. Once again, why we always get the blame for everything? We don't control nothing.
What percentage of commentators? Are black?
I don't know. I don't watch mainstream.
It's about 25.
I like how he closes his eyes every time he talks.
It's about 25%, despite being 12% of the population.
But they still working on a platform that is not controlled or ran by black people.
So
we don't discriminate.
So when you lay out responsibility,
is Van Jones not black? Joy Reid not black?
He black.
Sonny Hostin not black?
Black, yes.
They're allowed to express their opinion.
Is he on the Van Jones network? Is Van Jones
Joy
on the
Reid's
Van
numbers
Jones
were dog
network?
shit. That's why she got fired. Just like Jimmy Kimmel.
Van Jones network.
So now Jimmy Kimmel.
Yes.
They're allowed to express their opinion.
Is he on the Van Jones network? Is Van Jones
Joy
on the
Reid's
Van
numbers
Jones
were dog
network?
shit. That's why she got fired. Just like Jimmy Kimmel.
Van Jones network.
So now Jimmy Kimmel's numbers are bullshit, but nevertheless, though, you had a national outcry where ABC had to retract and bring him back. I mean,
someone from the left also shot up an ABC affiliate.
Huh?
Someone from the left also shot up an ABC affiliate, so that was a big deal.
See, again, Steve, we can go backward and forward all day. The broader context is the fact that, you know what? There is a part of white America that needs to acknowledge the fact that, look, even if reparations is not going to happen, because we damn well know it's not, right? At least stop preventing us from moving forward. Listen, see, it's funny how there's an outcry whenever we do the exact same thing.
You don't do the exact same thing. Crime statistics aren't the same thing.
But you're talking crime.
Because you know what I'm talking about is there are young white kids who don't get good breaks either, right? They have some tough breaks and they don't commit crime in record fucking numbers. And blaming them for this country.
There's a lot of black people that don't commit crime in record numbers.
Statistically, it's not the same thing. There's most of them. Most black people don't. But a young white kid is 12 times as likely to be murdered by a black male than the other way around. In other words, white people, like you said, we're not going in killing black people. That it is
I just
absolutely a
find
fact.
that so hard to
What if it is true, guys? What if that stat is true?
Where is this happening?
Well, the thing is, the scale is so small. Like, there's so few white on black crime instances and so few black on white crime instances, but the number of black on white crime instances relative to the number of white on black crime instances there's a big disparity there. So it is 12 times more likely to happen, but it makes it seem as if it's like this epidemic, and it's not. Crime in a violent way is relatively uncommon. It's not like a huge thing in this country. Obviously it's still a problem here. This is a violent country, but we're saying like scale wise, right? So it creates the impression that that's the case. But yeah, there's not like an epidemic of like black people going into Cinco Ranch or Norwalk, Connecticut or whatever and gunning down white people in the suburbs. That just ain't happening. Probably a lot of robberies, I think, like white people in the wrong area or white people in downtown areas being robbed. It's probably something like that.
The real Earth. What if it's true? Hey, what if I could show you the clip and Donald Trump said, 1 second. Look, I'm the fucking minority here. I get it, right? I'm outnumbered. But what if Donald Trump actually said what I just said?
With the digital dollar on the horizon, your retirement savings could be more exposed than ever.
All right.
Keep watching and learn how to move your.
And why don't you know? What if the stat I'm giving you is true, and why don't you know? At a certain point, hey, if you want to blame institutional,
you publicize everything.
If you want to blame a systemic, institutionalized, wrongdoing, maybe you should look at you guys being misinformed.
The whole thing is fucked up. That's my point. The whole
about Donald Trump now ordering the military to go into
12-time murder rate.
Black
That's a
cities.
fact.
Is that misinformation as well?
What was that?
Is that misinformation?
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Is that misinformation when you look at Donald Trump ordering the ICE to go into primarily black cities along with the FBI? Is that misinformation when you talk about New Orleans?
What else can we say about those cities? What else can we say about those cities?
Question, Steve.
I support it. I support it. I support the military going into these cities, man. I've said that many times. Something's got to give.
I'm asking a question. Is that misinformation? See,
the way you're presenting it, yeah.
No, Steve, I asked you a question.
Is it because they're black? Or is it because they're sanctuary cities?
See, that's sanctuary.
Were they harboring illegal aliens?
That's another bullshit term that you guys have adopted on the right. Come on, man.
That's what I'm saying.
No, it's an actual policy.
It's always
it's an actual policy where they don't deport and they actually subsidize illegal. You hear about Aurora, Colorado?
Steve, I'm going to share something with you, and I hope I don't lose my job behind what I'm about to share with you. Let me tell you something.
I hope you don't either.
Let me tell you something right now. There is a big push with this immigration bullshit that is placating the public. Because let me tell you something. When they come to this country, the minute they hit the shore, the first thing they do is call and say that I want Medicaid. And guess what? By law, there is a record called non-citizen emergency expedited Medicaid. We have to give it to them, all right? So if you want to turn around and talk about immigration, then you got to talk about the corporations and stop incentivizing this shit to happen,
and
all right?
Nobody's asking why they got to pay
nobody says that. No, nobody talks about that.
I agree with you. Why did Kamala Harris say that illegal aliens can't get Medicaid?
But the problem existed long before Kamala Harris, though.
No, what I'm telling you is that the left. Why do you think we have a government shutdown right now?
But that's what I'm saying.
Right now, because the left wants
government shutdown because of healthcare.
Healthcare for who's going to be beneficiary? Illegal aliens.
Yeah.
But see, you say that, but
you shouldn't pay for that. I agree,
right?
Just like someone here illegally.
Aliens can vote.
Right.
You damn well know they can't.
Of course they can.
No, they can't.
How do we do it?
How many instances have you seen?
How many states have voter ID?
Are you kidding me? Look, man,
Every state should have voter ID. All 50. Every single state. No mail-in ballots. All in-person voting. Boom.
From Louisiana originally. Okay, when I go to vote, damn it, the first thing they ask me to do is, please let me see your ID.
Yeah, how many states have voter ID?
Okay, then you tell me the number. You got the number.
It's over 20 that don't.
So over 20 states that don't.
We were told illegals couldn't get on Medicaid, but here they are.
But I just told you that. I just told you that.
I agree with you.
That is something that has been going on in this country for damn years. Because you know why?
So let's deport them.
Who's the corporate benefactors? If you're gonna do that, then make sure that.
Well, you know why? Do you know about the census rule change?
No.
And by the way, this actually directly harms the black community, specifically the black community in a lot of ways, because you have a much more comparable percentage of the population to like Hispanics, right? More than white people. You're close, depending on the state. The census rule that they wanted to change, which you can thank Donald Trump for reversing, was going to count people in the household whether they were legal or not. Do you realize that would actually change district seats, voting patterns, and the electoral college? Why should someone here illegally be able to be counted?
The electoral college does need to be changed.
My point is, it would have been changed based on illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
People who, and you know what else is pretty, hey, there's also a pathway to citizenship from the Democrat Party. So if you vote for us, you're going to get your free shit. And you know who pays for it?
That's so crazy. That is so crazy. Considering this country is our birthright, to just give away citizenship to people like that for nothing is crazy. And let them vote, to let them influence the census, the electoral college numbers so that Democrats can win elections for free. Insane.
All of us, and you tend to have more Hispanic people in the black community who are there illegal. You live in closer proximity. My woman is Hispanic. She's Latina. Of course, she's nuts. But she'll tell you, because she has family members who are here legally, they're not at risk. Sanctuary cities are a problem.
What about the companies that employ these illegal immigrants? See, they keep...
Punish them all.
Yeah, because once again,
punish them all.
Somebody...
Are you going to punish the hand that feeds you? Come on.
Hold on,
doesn't feed me.
Hold on, I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
The companies that employ these illegal aliens, they're profiting not only by the normal margin, by an increase because they're paying less to these people. But one thing, living in Texas and Louisiana, who gonna pick that?
I ain't gonna lie, my guy right here got a fresh cut. Sheesh, that's a fresh cut right there. They weren't lying. For straight hair, for a straight haircut, for a white guy with straight hair, that's a pretty fresh cut. I ain't gonna lie.
Fruit.
Oh, plenty of white people. Plenty of white people. Plenty of white people.
Y'all white people ducked and ran from picking that
Didn't
cotton.
you see that? Didn't you see that? There was Ohio, I think it was Toledo, the meatpacking plants. Once they said we can't hire illegal aliens, it was a line around the block of white people. Do you realize that the enrollment in the trades has gone up? They was inside. I stayed out there in that sun. Who gonna get out there in the sun and get them strawberries? Hey, who gonna get them peaches and them apples? You know who did that? Me.
Ain't no white people out there doing that.
Did you know I did that? That was one of my jobs.
Ain't no white people out there.
I did a part-time job working in an orchard, and then I worked.
That's just ignorance.
Construction.
Anybody can do agricultural work. Go to upstate New York. Look at all those white people out there doing that agricultural work. There's a lot of them.
Wouldn't we do it?
How many white people? You might have been out there as an individual.
It's just because it happens.
How many of them was out there? I done drove by the
They weren't out there because it's slave labor.
And seen them Latinos out there.
I never thought I would see a black man advocate for modern slavery, because that's what that is. That's modern slavery. That's modern slavery.
They should be paid more for the work. That's hard work, man.
They shouldn't be here illegally.
Somebody got to get that cabbage out there. Somebody got to get them sweet potatoes out the ground. Somebody got to do that. White people not going to do that.
Of course we will.
Once again, when the work got...
How do you think they fed themselves for generations? Before the Industrial Revolution? Before illegal immigrants? They had to get the cottage and the food and the cabbage and the sweet potatoes. And they were white and they did the farming for generations. Okay.
Got hard, that's when they went and got slaves.
Yeah, white people don't know hard work.
The Indians broke down. They went and got black people. They got the Chinese, they conned them in doing the railroad, like you said. But then when white work get hard, white people ran from that kind of work. So if you can't tell me in 2025, you gonna go find...
That's just not true. That's just false. That's just revisionist history. They were doing all kinds of agricultural work in the South and the Midwest. Most of the agricultural work going on in the Midwest is being done by a lot of white people. So no, this is just rhetoric.
One of them new generation upset white boys that's gonna get out there and climb that tree and get them apples out of it.
It's a statistical reality. I'm telling you.
That's not
and hey, what do you think happens when people coming from the third world aren't working here illegally as modern day indentured servants, slaves? What do you think happens when they're not there? Wages go up. Why would you pay more when you can have someone who's off the books, you can threaten with deportation, pay him dog shit? By the way, that hurts your wages too.
I'm saying if you're going to have those people, you got to pay them more because that is somewhat a form of slave. That's some hard work out there. That's some hard work out there. But the companies that employ, the Tropicanas, the Del Montes, the Libby's, all those companies that get the people, somebody got to get them green beans. All those companies are profiting from that cheap labor. Somebody got to pay. So if they're profiting from that,
I agree.
Those are the companies that need to be punished.
They should be punished, and the government that incentivizes it should be punished.
Whoever
government has incentivized it because they're stealing food from your kid's mouth.
The borders
we can agree on that. Hopefully,
I'm all with that. But if you gonna let them in here and somebody gonna profit off of it, make them folks have to spit that bread out. Because if you punishing somebody, if you making that kind of profit off that illegal labor, you got to make it so punitive that I don't need to get that illegal labor because it's killing my profit.
But if we apply it, and I agree with you, punish them, right? I agree with you 100%. wouldn't we also apply it to sanctuary cities that have harbored illegal aliens and prevented the deportation? By the way, you know Barack Obama
deported.
deported.
Sanctuary city, that's a city where you can come if you're an illegal alien.
And they will protect you from deportation.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Exactly. That's
See,
why
I was born here. I was born here, so I don't give a damn about nobody that's illegally over here. If you ain't supposed to be over here, you got to deal with it.
I agree.
You got to deal with it.
I agree. Right. Anyone who's fostered it should be punished.
My kids was born here. My mom and my daddy was born here. My grandparents was born here. And they so we here. So if you're not supposed to be here and you don't go through the legal channel, you got to deal with the consequences of that.
Yep.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
I'm not here for harboring nobody.
I am for legally having a path to citizenship.
Now, legal,
right.
that's different. Legal immigration is different.
Yeah. I agree.
Legal immigration is different.
And by the way, it shouldn't be easy. It shouldn't be easy.
You should have to pass the test.
It is.
You should have to pass the test.
Right.
Once again,
I agree.
Once again, if I just went to Montreal. If I wanted to move to Montreal, I'd have to do some shit.
Oh yeah.
It'd take like 3 years for me to officially become a citizen, and there's a lot of stuff that I had to do in them 3 years.
Yeah.
To prove to them that I'm worthy of citizenship.
Well, it's even worse when people hear. This is why I say people don't realize that America is actually they provide more opportunities than any other country. You don't get assurance maladie in Quebec unless you've been employed and paying taxes. I think unless they changed it, I haven't been there since 2004, 3 years. So in other words, you do not receive anything comparable to EBT, SNAP, any of that, unless you're a tax-paying citizen with a record. They don't let people come there, white or black. Also, they are way more racist than America. People don't realize that. French Canadians, yeah.
Gotcha.
They're super racist. And the reason, like, my experience has been that Americans are the least racist people of all the countries. That includes Europe, that includes Canada. People think Canada's awesome, but French Canadians hate the Haitians because it's a French colony. They hate the Vietnamese. They're just awful.
That's what I was about to say. It's different pockets that they hate. They don't hate. They don't hate us, Americans.
Yeah, they don't like Americans.
I didn't experience that.
Yeah, they talk behind your back.
I experienced it. Well, that may
and it's bullshit too. They're jealous. They're jealous.
But
of course they are, because we're the best. We're just the best. Of course they hate us. We're the best. America is the best country. It's not even a question. Really, Quebec? Fucking cares about Quebec. We're America.
They're gonna do that here too.
Yeah. So, no, I know. Yeah, no. Canada's a silly place where, again, it's bigger than the United States with a tenth of the population, and it doesn't have the same kind of diversity that we have here. I mean, when people point to Norway or these countries that have giant social safety nets, it's like take the population of Rhode Island. Hey, and I'm sure you could probably make it work better too if it was 100% black or 100% Nordic. When you have a cultural common ground, it's easier, right? We have a lot more pockets in this country than in places like Canada.
In too many cities, dangerous illegals walk free as police are forced to stand down. Join.
Beautiful city to visit, though. I highly recommend it. To live there is awful. You want to pay 52% income tax and 14%. What was sales tax when you went? 14%?
Yeah, sales tax.
You know what's crazy about
Like
it?
that.
You're taxed on tax. So you have a bill, they tax 7%, total it, and then tax another 7%.
I was about to say, they came and got some more money after we got back.
Yeah, that's socialism in Quebec. And I mean, I've buried relatives from their socialized healthcare.
Which is why we need to fight harder to preserve this.
Well, there's a good way to do socialism and a bad way to do socialism. That's a bad way to do it.
This country versus, because see, we keep going back because.
And I'm not like a ideological socialist. I'm more of like a Keynesian, but some socialist policies I think would actually be in the collective interest.
Of our ethnic differences and our beliefs and what have you, we can never move forward. And right now, we are in the fight of our life as Americans. Because let me tell you something right now. There's a huge push to supplant that damn dollar. And if you think that dollar doesn't mean nothing, you watch what happens when it loses that reserve currency status. You'll see what it's like to have a goddamn currency that's worth nothing. Yeah. Okay, so we've got to we really got to reevaluate. Listen, we're not going to ever agree on every goddamn thing. But the one thing we got to agree on is that we are Americans. And to the rest of the world, whether you're black, white, Republican, Democrat, independent, or what have you, you know what? They still see you as America. All right? So since we're one and the same, let's figure out what we need to do to address the real goddamn.
There you go. That's what I like to hear. Now you're talking my language. Yes. Yes. Yes, this is how all of us need to think, regardless of the individuals. This is what it should always come back to. It's us versus the world.
Problems, you know. Now, as far as it goes for the young white male, I can't speak on his frustration. I simply hope that, you know what, we don't repeat the damn mistakes of the past, because look where it's gotten us after all these hundreds of years. We got to move forward.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. That's the attitude.
I'm not asking you to speak for them. I'm asking you guys to consider listening.
Sure.
Because they're at a point where, I don't know if you know this, a lot of young white dudes have had some pretty fucking tough breaks and no advantages. And they grew up in an era. No. Look, everyone has it. Everyone has it.
Nothing about no poor disenfranchised.
But that's the disconnect, man.
Ain't nobody trying to hear that, man.
Okay.
Real talk.
Okay. Well, real talk. 12 times the murder rate. You don't want to believe it? Fine.
I don't.
And that kid's not going to want to pay reparations.
You know what else on top of that?
Yeah.
Oh man, you should have let Steven continue his thought. I wanted to hear that.
So you can throw them threats out there all you want.
I know you're not scared.
About what the young white man might do.
I know you're not scared because you're 12 times less likely to be the victim of a violent crime from a white person than he is of you. That's a fact.
No, I'm 12 times more likely to defend myself against some bullshit. So if the young white boy come with that bullshit, I'm gonna meet that bullshit with some bullshit.
A lot of white people going into black.
Hey, he's trying to show out right now. He's just trying. You should, dude. Just listen. Just chill out. Be quiet. Listen to what Steven is saying. And you'll learn something. He's just showing out right now.
That's what I'm saying.
A lot of white boys going into black neighborhoods around.
And ain't nobody playing. Understand?
But I think that's.
What you guys, come on, let's real talk. You've never seen a white person come in solo into a black neighborhood and start a fight. I don't think you've ever seen it.
I don't see black people.
Let's be honest, guys. You're not afraid of young white kids.
But entertain. Steve, you saw a white man going to
If you are, correct me.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm also giving you a flip side to that coin that you completely ignored.
No, because he said I'll stop some bullshit from a white. I tell you, young white guys are afraid when they're surrounded by black guys.
Okay, but don't come around black guys.
I'm afraid when I'm surrounded by a bunch of white men. I'm just not going to allow my fear.
I'm not.
No, I'm not saying you.
Dude, I'm surrounded. This could be an entire tornado of black fists raining on me for saying the wrong thing.
Steven Crowder, I'm talking to boy that you're talking about. The young white boy that
I'm not even saying I wouldn't deserve it.
I'm talking to him. If you're that scared of black people, don't come around black people.
They're not scared. They're tired of it.
Well, don't stay away from us.
Great.
You got your own areas.
Then don't ask them to pay for it.
And we're not
because once again.
Oh, so you want them to stay away but foot the bill.
So you got to do that with everything
and
else
now
in
it's
the
the
tax
kid. Now it's the boodle and nothing is safe. Stay away from us but pay for us. Do you realize that guy's going to hate you?
That's a good point. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. It is a bit of a double standard.
If we're going to do that, if we're going to give you that, then you got to go through everything and you got to give us the same thing. We're not going to pay for certain shit that we don't agree with.
Can I ask you something real talk? While we're having real talk, why do young black men fight in packs? Why when we see a World Star video?
Actually, I know personal experience. Young Asians fight in packs more than young black.
No, I'm talking about every time I tune in.
I used to be a club bouncer.
That came out of nowhere. That was definitely like out of left field. Where the hell did that come from? I've never heard that before. It's probably those Koreans. I know. I don't know. Koreans and Filipinos. They especially here in LA, they get down. I mean, but they're all mixed in with black folks too in a lot of these areas in downtown LA. So the culture's a bit different. But he's not from LA. He's from Texas, so I don't know what he's referencing.
So I'm talking about video after video of a defenseless person on the ground getting stomped by
social media.
5
That's
people.
conditioning. That's something somebody propped up that wants you to see that represents black folks.
So you think it's equal across the board?
That's the problem. No, I think it happens in any community.
Do you think it happens more from young black men than young white men?
No, it gets amplified more from young black men.
Do you think young black men commit violent crime more than young white men? Let's laser in. Do you think
amongst each other? Yeah.
Do you think that you're saying you don't believe the 12 times rate? Do you believe that young black men commit wanton violence against white men more than white men do against black men?
No.
Okay. Then we're never going to find common ground or improve.
Yeah, you might have to bite the bullet. At some point, you got to bite the bullet because this is kind of just like, this is what's going to impede progress, right? It's like the cognitive dissonance or the coping, the defense mechanisms. At some point, you got to be like, yeah, you got a point, and then you have a good faith, genuine conversation, but you got to accept basic realities, like realities on the ground, to move forward. Otherwise, it's just ideological.
Because it's a reality.
Right, because you believe that.
No, I know that. And I'm listening to the kids who are living that. It would be like me telling you in 1960s to black kids going, you don't know. Let me speak for you. You can't speak for those kids. It's what they're going through. Listen, I want to listen, but you guys need to listen to them too. This is not going to go well.
I'm hearing you. But I'm telling you, I'm just asking, while I'm hearing you say that young kid is feeling this way,
of course,
I'm asking you to tell that young kid, consider the people that came before him. Hold on. The reason why we're in some of these situations is because historically, we've had to deal with this shit forever.
That's why he's getting his ass kicked at
we didn't
7-Eleven.
ask for none of this either.
That's why
we got here and had to deal with the historical ramifications of what happened
all across the country.
So
all across the country, it's a reality.
So when we're asking for it, it's invalid. But when he's asking for it, we're supposed to listen.
Okay, 19 of the top murder cities in the country are blue districts with exponentially larger black populations than the rest of the country.
What's up, y'all?
Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, Detroit, where I'm from, Los Angeles. No, 12 times the rate. I don't know if they're random, but yeah, more random attacks.
In those cities, blacks are killing black people.
You can say it's not.
Black people are killing black people at way higher rates in those cities.
Sure they are, but they're killing white people at 12 times the rate that white people are killing black people. That's a fact.
I think if that were true, Steve, we'd have a national outcry and the government would bring all their forces.
You're about to get one. That's what I'm here to warn you about. You're about to get one.
Steve, that's what
You're
I'm
about
saying.
to get one, and I don't think you guys see it coming.
No,
it's coming.
I see it, but what I'm telling you is you're not gonna see the exact. You're trying to equate the black crime to the white. It's not the same crime. Because conditionally,
you're right. It's far more violent.
Culturally,
it's far more
we're
violent.
totally
You're right.
different. Culturally, we've had to
far more
deal
violent.
with generation after generation of struggle and resistance to oppression. We've had to deal with that conditioning over history.
Okay.
Y'all haven't. So there's less fight in you. You're right.
You tell that to a kid in a wheelchair who was getting a pack of smokes.
Huh?
You tell that to a kid in a wheelchair for life who was getting a pack of smokes and was being white in the wrong neighborhood. See if that.
Okay, that kind of feels like a stretch. That kind of feels pretty. I don't know if that's a. I feel like he's just pulling that out of his ass.
Argument works than asking to pay for reparations.
Unfortunate things happen.
Are people ever responsible for their own decisions?
Yes.
What I'm trying to tell you is young white people are going, we're tired of being blamed for racism when we're getting beaten up, we're getting killed, and we don't have any affirmative action or DEI, and they're saying we need to actually have a conversation here.
Okay, I hear you.
I don't know, go to World Star, go to BET, go to any single rap track.
With the blacks beating up the white people.
I've never seen this. Like, where are these?
Because it's not coming across your algorithm because the system is going to show you stuff that relates to you.
Are we going to act like World Star is just a nightmare I had at some point?
Those young white kids are going to see stuff that relates to them and their point of view. So if they believe that they're being hunted, they believe that people are out.
If you want to see one, go to the Spirit Airlines terminal.
I also do think it's kind of a funny thing on the inverse too, because white people will say that black people listening to CNN, MSNBC, WAPO, Huffington Post, whatever, any of these left-wing liberal media outlets, they'll say it engenders a kind of victim mindset in them. Conservatives do the same thing in the opposite direction with young white men. They say, it's the Jews, it's DEI, it's affirmative action, it's the liberals, it's the left-wing media, it's black people, it's black culture, it's this, it's that, it's the other. It's like both people kind of engender this victim mindset, and I've always rejected it. Both sides. That's gonna kind of impede progress. So you can't talk about a victim mindset if you're not kind of doing the same thing.
Supports that. That's the algorithm. That's why I say stay off of social media. That's some bullshit. Stay off of social media.
It's not an algorithm.
Think for yourself.
I agree. That's why I'm here.
Talk to people that's different from you and talk to them and
I
figure
agree.
out where they're coming from.
I agree, but I don't hear a lot of listening.
Listen to them too.
I am listening. I don't hear a lot of listening to young white kids.
I believe
you just say that's not true.
You go on these college campuses,
I never
think you
said
do
that.
have a pulse of that generation. I don't doubt that. But what I want to think, in my estimation, this is what I've observed. We are the fuse for the fight that's inevitable. We're not necessarily the problem, but we're the fuse that's trying to get lit. See, there's a sect of white people that are trying to start fights or start a revolution against black people to fight the fight that they really want to fight against other white people.
Okay.
See, that's what keeps getting tossed to the side and covered up. See, we're just the few. Once again, there's not enough of us to make an imprint in this country if it popped off like that. There's not enough of us. So we're the trigger. That's why you see the random outbreaks of violence when it is a lot of times white on black. It's to get the black people riled up and mad at white people so that we can go and do.
Yeah, that he's making a good point here. There are accelerationists out there who are waiting for they call it the boogaloo. Waiting for some kind of racial conflict to pop off so they can capitalize on it and arrest control of the state, cause mass destabilization in society. There are bad actors out there who have those kinds of evil intentions. He's got a point. I don't know if that's what he's referring to or if he's just talking out of his ass, but he's making a point.
do something to negatively affect
That's why I say
a white community to get this party started.
All right.
Now, in the midst of them beating or trying to destroy us, now they can go fight the fight that they want to fight. Just like the thing with your man Charlie. That dude was mad about, like you said, he was in love with the transgender dude. He wasn't necessarily mad at Charlie, but Charlie was saying some things he ain't like. So he took it upon himself to kill this man for saying something that he didn't like. We didn't have anything to do with that.
I didn't say you did.
I know you did. I know you did. I'm not saying you did.
But a lot of people had.
No, they didn't.
And I'm gonna tell you. And
people
listen,
have not blamed Charlie.
Blue tea for memory loss? My constant brain fog that never went away is finally gone. And what I
On the black
That's
community.
the part right there. Steve, you refuse to listen to anything that what I was saying.
You think white people are blaming Charlie Kirk's death on the black community?
It was precipitative. What happened was, after that happened, the two young men that went to Tennessee State set up in Charlie's, in his model, his MO, we want to have the debate. Illegal aliens got to do this, and DEI got to do this. Now, why would you go to a black college, which Charlie didn't do? That wasn't his thing. He was going to big PWIs, go and sit down with the big school. Why would these two guys go now, with the country in the state of upheaval that it is, go sit on this campus
with no permits?
With no permits to go have a debate with people that didn't know they were coming.
Why is that a problem?
It's a problem because, number one, you didn't get the permit. You didn't even go the proper route to do it. But secondly,
you knew what that was going to do.
At the time that
what is it going to do?
You were going to incite. I
go into liberal campuses. I go to lesbian colleges.
You were going to incite unrest.
This was Tennessee State University.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll tell you what. Let me go.
Tennessee.
We got a folding table in the back. I'm gonna take that table. I'm gonna go over here to this Jewish synagogue up here off the tollway, and I'm gonna go sit down and I'm gonna start saying disparaging things against them. Do you think I'm gonna be allowed to sit there and stay there? No. They're gonna escort me out of that building.
Well,
right?
sure. If it's private proproperty, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So hold on. But are you saying they had an anti-black sign? These boys?
No, those guys said illegal. Something about illegal.
Deport all illegals.
So
he's drawing a false equivalency here. Hosting debates at a public school and then honest debates, intellectual debates, and then going to a even if it's provocative, and then going to a Jewish synagogue and openly saying disparaging things, it's not the same.
So DEI is the devil.
Deport all illegals, DEI is wrong, or something like that.
Yeah, DEI is the devil, or DEI. But what they did that to go and try and incite that group of people.
No, they went there for the same reason I'm here, to have a conversation.
That's white people going over there bothering black people.
But you see how you...
That's white people going bothering black people. Let me ask you this.
They should get a permit, I agree. They should get a permit.
But why they didn't have their ass there the month before Charlie Kirk got shot? You know why? Because they didn't give a fuck about Tennessee State. They just wanted to try to go somewhere to incite some unrest.
Or maybe they went there because they want to have a... Hold on a second. Would they talk with anyone who would sit down at the table?
Wait, who, those guys?
Yeah, would they?
I don't know. They didn't get to talk.
Well, that doesn't seem like incitement.
They ran them off the campus.
Okay.
But once again, the month before Charlie Kirk incident, they didn't have no interest in going there then. Because if they did, they'd have called and got them a permit.
Yeah, you should get a permit.
To go.
But I tell you what, I've also gotten permits.
They did that just trying to get something started. Once again, you said you got your numbers, black people jumping on white people, causing harm. But that's white people going bothering black people that didn't have nothing to do with that. Trying to get a fight started over here with some people they really want to fight over there. But I'm going this route.
How about instead of fighting, you talk with them?
What? You know what? You get your permit, you come back, you announce that you're going to be here on Tuesday the 17th, and then we'll set up, and then you have that. You don't just show up in the midst of this. Once again, like he said, HBCUs are on high alert now. They're on high alert because of this. They got to be scared because you don't know.
Why are they on high alert?
Because the
black dudes.
They got the
sorry, I can't.
Several of them got threatened the next day.
Okay. Yeah.
And they had to shut the campuses down.
Can we find some common ground? Do you understand that the threats against
what about the black man that got hung at the college?
Do you understand that the threats against?
Okay, well, hold on. With that situation, we don't even know what the whole situation with that was. So let's chill out with that.
Talk about that. I'm listening to you.
The threats against conservatives since then have been far worse than the black community. Would you agree with that?
I don't know, because I'm not a conservative, and I don't pay attention to the threats against conservatives.
Yeah, no.
But I do pay attention to the threats against HBCUs, especially Southern University.
Yeah.
And they received one after something that didn't have nothing to do with
from a race because they were black.
They received a threat directly related to the Charlie Kirk thing.
How so? I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
That was the information put out. We received a threat to the campus relating to the Charlie Kirk incident, and we're shutting campus down. And it was 6 different HBCUs the next day that got the same threat.
Do you mean related to someone who would be agreeing with the shooter's ideology or Charlie Kirk's?
We don't know. That's what I'm saying.
Well, doesn't that matter?
My question is, what does any of that have to do with anybody at an HBCU? Why is 6 HBCUs going on lockdown the next day behind what happened in Utah?
Well, every school was on lockdown, and so were churches.
Not every school.
Oh, yeah.
SMU wasn't on lockdown.
Right here, just the church had to go into lockdown. Is that a race thing?
SMU wasn't, though.
I don't know if SMU was. I know that they cleared out class for the day.
Goes there. They weren't on lockdown.
Do you really think that since Charlie Kirk, it has impacted the black community more than any other community?
I didn't say that. I just said, why are we getting any impact?
You shouldn't be getting anything.
That's my question.
Charlie Kirk shouldn't be shot.
So my question is,
well, how is this? How is this relevant?
Well, because once again, that actually happened. There's real stuff that happens, and it creates other tensions that people start talking about. Like,
okay,
when the young man is found hanging on a campus a couple of days after that, like, there's all kinds of.
See, all that did was activate.
It's terrible,
right? Activate pockets and
yeah, but who hung that kid? That's what we want to know. I don't know who hung that guy. I don't know if that was what the details on that are. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was racial, but I mean, I don't know.
And different things start popping up.
I understand that, yeah.
There's a lot, especially in like Tennessee. There's a lot of them backwoods militia boys that's waiting on some shit to pop off.
Nah, it's not even close.
Oh,
let me look. This is one thing that kind of I know pretty well. You know, Charlie Kirk was hunted. Charlie Kirk was hunted.
I believe
There's
that.
one other man as hunted as him, right? And it's me.
I agree with that.
And so, yes.
I agree with that.
You have to edit this, but there was literally a man arrested in Maryland last week who was coming for me, who had the means, the location, the ability, and disturbing ties. So, I will tell you this. Conservatives, people like Charlie Kirk, who, by the way, he was maligned as racist. There wasn't a racist bone in his body, if you agree with him or not. And by the way, I disagree with him in a whole lot. The fomenting of racial division.
I'd be interested to see what those things Crowder disagree with Kirk on. Maybe Christian nationalism. I don't know.
And hatred is, and also gender division and hatred. LGBTQ, throw it all in, right? But he was accused. Throw it up. But yeah, he was called a Nazi. He was called a fascist, a homophobe, a racist, and that's why people were inspired to kill him, because they thought he was hateful. That's why I'm having these conversations, because he wasn't hateful, but he was hunted. Someone went out and said,
I don't think Charlie Kirk was hateful, per se. Like personally as an individual. I could understand, though, how somebody from the left could construe his rhetoric as maybe being dangerous or hateful, you know, especially if you're LGBTQ. I could kind of see that. I mean, there's still no excuse, obviously, but
I want to shoot a white conservative because of who he is and because of
But he was a hardcore culture warrior. He was hard right. He said a lot of incendiary things, so unfortunately that's the game that you play when you roll the dice, you know.
Views. And I'm number one on that list. I've had to be on the phone with the FBI. I've had to be on the phone with multiple intelligence agencies, because this is not, you're seeing the one that got through. There have been many attempts on Charlie's life and my life because of what we do here, having a conversation. And I think we can all agree that that's something that needs to be changed. But if you take that and go, and I've condemned it totally, just like Donald Trump with white supremacists. If that happens at HBCUs, it's awful. It shouldn't happen anywhere.
Right.
Also, no one should be kicked off of campus or beaten up, permit or not, for having a point of view. People should have a conversation.
They should have been kicked off campus.
You should be kicked off by the administration. But here's the other thing that happens. Let me give you a flip side of that. SMU, TCU, UT, I've gone through the process. I've gotten permits. And then you've had students, sometimes they're black, sometimes they're lesbian, and they've complained and said, hey, we think this is hateful, and had to leave campus. And you know what that does? It puts me at risk. Because now I don't have the place secure. Even though I had the right, but someone had an opinion that offended them.
But that's what I'm saying. Just like, if I say, okay, if I make a statement that says, man, white people have been giving it to black folks for a long time, somebody might take that and say that's racist. You shouldn't say that.
Sure.
I'm going to feel like historically I got a right to say that, because that's what America has shown me.
Yep.
And I'm not saying nothing against any particular white person. I'm saying in general, the white power structure has been giving it to the black folks in America for a long time.
You can say that.
So,
and you should never experience violence for it. I agree.
But there's certain places in time. But I can say that in certain places in time that will incite violence. Because if I go out and say that in the middle of the cornfield festival when I'm surrounded by people who don't look like me, and I say that, then I'm gonna subject myself to their scrutiny and their ire. Like they're gonna be like, wait, what'd you say, boy?
And I would anticipate.
I think you might get some racial epithets, and you might get an N-bomb. You might get the N-bomb here, but I don't think you get assassinated. I don't think you get assassinated.
It's gonna be some trouble.
Yeah, I know. We always know about the racist white guy.
That incident that happened with Charlie Kirk as a real wake-up call, and I'm gonna tell you honestly, unless we can really have an effective discourse when it comes to our differences of opinion, we're gonna have a bad country moving forward.
That's right.
Yep. And that's what I'm saying.
I just don't think
people hear things and they hear it according to their conditioning, what they've been conditioned to believe. So if you hear me say, white people been giving it to black people for a long time, and you've been conditioned to think that as a black man, I'm a certain type of person, well, you're gonna lean this way. And you're gonna categorize my speech as a certain thing. But if you free thinking and you clear thinking and you can think for yourself and say, well, let me examine what he said before I label him. Because
a lot of people can't do that.
That's what everybody quick to do is label somebody as something.
That's true.
Everybody got to be labeled as something. You got to be a leftist or rightist, or you got to be a conservative or whatever. It's like everybody's got a label.
Yeah.
If you think for yourself and say, you know what he said is actually.
In too many cities, dangerous illegals.
I just don't know if these guys are willing to practice what they preach, but yeah, he's got a good point. He's got a good point there.
He might have said it in a fucked up way. That's the thing that, once again, no disrespect to the dead, but that's what I give Charlie. Charlie said a lot of shit in fucked up ways sometimes to certain people.
Like what?
If you come from a certain black, like once again, if I'm on the phone with a customer service representative that's a moronic black woman, well, okay, I'm gonna hear that statement and saying, well, I get that you might think just anybody working in customer service may be moronic, but you didn't have to point out.
But what did he say that was messed up?
Moronic black woman. So to black women, it's gonna be a long way.
You're talking about that quote. So here's something that's important, right? Because Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Let's be clear about this, and we're both agreeing because people believed a lie. He never said black women were moronic. He never said that. He said it specifically about Ketanji Brown Jackson or Jackson Lee, about 3 black women who said, "I'm here because of DEI." He said, "If you're saying, I agree. I don't think you're smart enough for that job." Because they're not great, in his opinion. Yeah, but he said, "I agree with your statement." He never said black. He had black women who worked.
The exact quote he used. I watched the interview where he was talking to this blonde lady. I forgot her name, but
Megyn Kelly.
No, it wasn't Megyn Kelly. She's ugly. It was
Megyn Kelly's not ugly. That's cap. Stop the cap.
She's gonna see this.
I want her to see it. She's anyway. He was on a video call.
Megyn Kelly's like a decent 8.89. She's pretty cute. I don't know. I think she is.
Side by side with a lady. And he said, if I'm on a customer service call with a woman and she's a moronic black woman, that's his exact words, bro. I'm not paraphrasing or nothing. I'm using his exact verbiage. That's what he said. Yeah. If I'm on the phone with a customer service agent and she's a moronic black woman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's intended to be provocative and incendiary, to play into a stereotype. We all kind of know what he meant when he said that. Let's not be naive.
What am I to think? That she got there based on DEI?
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
So the context is he's saying if I'm on the phone with someone who would be in a DEI class, who sounds like an idiot, and this is, by the way, I had this exact similar conversation with the girl at UT, where she said, I would never be at UT if not for affirmative action. I said, affirmative, and I believe it, affirmative action is racist by its definition, my opinion. It excludes on race. That is a form of racism. So anyway, she sat down, she said, young black girl, she said, but if it wasn't for affirmative action, she said, I wouldn't be here at UT. I said, why do you say that? She said, well, because I wouldn't be allowed. I said, well, what were your SATs? I remember the numbers, they were very impressive. I said, what was your GPA? It was very impressive. It was over a 4.0. I said, that's really sad to me that you don't know, and you'll never know that you deserve to be here, because I can tell you, based on if you're telling me the truth, you of course would get into UT. And you didn't need a government program. And you could see in her face, her tears welled up because she had been told that she needed someone else to give it to her. And that removed her sense of pride in her accomplishment. So I said the exact same thing as Charlie did, saying you can never know if you earned it, a meritocracy, because of DEI. And she changed her mind. And she said, you know what? I should be here, and I don't need DEI. Or affirmative action in that case.
In that particular, in order to believe that.
In that particular instance,
and certainly not from a white guy.
In that particular instance, it might have been completely accurate. But there's also, if you want to acknowledge that there's a flip side to the coin,
sure,
right? There's also a lot of people who had the qualifications who didn't get the access because, once again, their name appeared wrong on the resume. Your name was Katanji. Well, we know who that is. Let's go with Alice.
Yeah. She is an idiot, and she got the job because
of DEI. That's why affirmative action had to be instituted in the first place. Now, did it operate correctly all the time? No. But that's what I'm saying. Just because it didn't operate correctly all the time, you're going to take the few instances where it didn't and make that the majority and say that's why you should cancel it.
What I'm saying is that Charlie Kirk, I agree. What I'm saying is that Charlie Kirk was making a point. And the point that he was making, I'm trying to say, is the same point that I was making where this black girl agreed with it, where he was saying, if you say that I'm only here because of DEI, then I am going to believe you. Right. That's what he's saying. And that's a valid point, and it's not hateful.
In doing that, you have the responsibility in your words to not have to say the words moronic black woman. You could have just said, if I'm on, like you said, you just perfectly summed it up. If I'm on the phone with a customer service agent and she's a moron, perfect. Why does she have to be qualified as black?
Because he was addressing DEI. That's the point.
But do you understand? Do you understand how that's going to affect somebody who hears it?
No, my point is, okay, then
I mean, Charlie Kirk was a polemic, so it's kind of unsurprising.
Sensitive. If someone is addressing DEI in a conversation and is asked about it, where race is relevant as per the policy, DEI, it exists based on race. You can't blame someone for acknowledging the race in criticizing the policy.
But the policy was created because race was being used to exclude.
Fine. Then don't say that it's wrong for him to acknowledge the race. He was making the point about a race-based initiative.
But you see,
that's why he included the race.
You see the choice in words he had to use? And once again, our responsibility in our choice of words is what creates a response in other people. I could say certain things to you, the way I say it can either give you a good vibe or a bad one. And you're going to respond a certain way.
Yeah, but who cares? It doesn't make someone a racist.
It doesn't, but I'm saying when people do things knowing that we're in a heightened inflammatory time and you do it on purpose and just stand behind whatever, it don't make me a racist, but I'm saying that y'all ain't shit. Whatever.
But he never said that.
Whatever. That
matters because believing those lies is why someone killed them.
Women in a certain context, and then I'm not expecting nobody to get upset by that.
Let me just, because Charlie Kirk is a big thing. Let me just kind of, maybe if you could just listen to this, because this is important, and I've been through it, and you're just seeing the actual murder that got through.
Right.
I mean, I've had concrete milkshakes, someone tried to bash me with a rock, I've had people try to firebomb my car, slash my tires, I've had terrorists show up from Yemen by way of Sweden until the local PD showed up, actually, I'm on the ISIS kill list. Yeah. Oh, it's a real thing, Charlie.
So all the stuff Dr. King and Malcolm X was dealing with. Go ahead, finish that.
Sure, great.
Yeah.
And I think it was wrong that he was taking, probably the CIA involvement too. I think we probably all agree on that MLK, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's wrong. Yep. We can say it's all wrong. But if you add it up, okay, where you believe the lie that he said something racist, let's just take that, okay? There's some hate put out there against Charlie Kirk that's not true. If someone believes the lie that he wants to erase trans people, that's what the people were also told. He wants to erase trans people, which is a lie. That person hates him too. If someone believes that he's a fascist or he's a Nazi who doesn't believe we should hold democratic elections, which is a lie, and people believe that, hey, that adds another.
I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I like what he's saying here. Kind of feels like whitewashing. I mean, Charlie Kirk was a Christian nationalist. And it's hard to have Christian. Here's the thing, right? And this is where the nuance is important. Democracy and liberal institutions, these things are built on trust. You can't have a democracy without trust. If you believe that the other side is trying to kill your children, trans your children, get rid of traditional values, get rid of traditional relationships, whatever. If you believe the other side is ontologically evil, they are an existential threat, you are going to respond with that same level of intensity. And if you don't trust that other side to basically be custodians of the public will, the public interest, whenever they get power, you can't have a democracy that way. It's built on trust. It's built on a belief that hey, I'm a Democrat. If a Republican gets in power, it's not the end of the world. If I'm a Republican, a Democrat gets in power, it's not the end of the world. If you don't believe that, you can't have a civil, stable, sane democracy, a sane society that way. You will embolden extremists. This happens all the time. This has happened in every society. It's happened in the Roman Empire. It's happened in, countless other examples. And then this is what leads to demagogues. This is what leads to polemics. And those are the kinds of people who rise to the top. And that's why you get a person like Trump, an open demagogue. So I don't think maybe necessarily, you know, Charlie Kirk wanted to end democracy, end rule of law, subvert the Supreme Court, disregard what they had to say. But I do think he wanted to push the limits, push it to the brink with as much incendiary rhetoric as possible to kind of destabilize the country, radicalize the country as much as possible so that his side could arrest power and gain and entrench themselves in institutions as much as possible to basically prevent anybody else from ever threatening Christian nationalist power or white hegemony ever again. You know, that's might be speculation, but I think that that's a logical conclusion to make, because if you're a polemicist, a Christian nationalist, you basically fundamentally believe as a Christian nationalist, you should control the state, you should control institutions, you should control the media, you should control academia at the exclusion of everybody else. And by hook or by crook, you know, maybe you have to take some extraordinary measures in order to achieve that outcome. And, you know, maybe he didn't believe in that, but I'm sure he wouldn't have minded that. So I don't think Charlie Kirk was like ideologically like liberal. We got to have liberal institutions. We got to do things the right way. You know, Trump shouldn't be sending ICE to do these kinds of, you know, provocative measures that violate the sovereignty of local police departments. Like, I don't think that that's how, or whatever local laws might exist. I don't know if that's how Charlie was. Like, everything has to be procedural. I don't buy that.
A piece of hatred and justification too. If someone believes that he's a misogynist, a sexist, who doesn't think that women should be allowed to vote or have the right to, you know, earn their place in the workplace, that's not. And every single one of them is dishonest, just like no one here knew that Donald Trump said, I condemn.
I mean, he believed variations of those things, just not to that extreme, I guess. People probably exaggerated or mischaracterized him a bit unfairly. But he, you know, his beliefs trended in those directions.
White supremacists and neo-Nazis, totally. So
and I still don't know that he said it. I hear you saying he said it, but I'd have to go see it in order to know it.
Okay, so let's assume for a second that I'm not lying, and right after this, I make the references available always. And you see that. And let's assume that I'm not lying and Charlie Kirk wasn't racist. And let's assume that he didn't want to commit genocide against trans people. And let's assume for a second that I'm not lying and there's a 12 times murder rate from black toward white people as opposed to white toward. Let's assume that I'm not lying about any of this because I'm kind of good at it and I know these numbers and it's what I do.
I mean, I don't think he wanted to genocide trans people per se, but he probably didn't. He probably wasn't a fan of trans people. And probably would have wanted to prevent people from becoming trans. But not a genocide. That's obviously crazy.
Wouldn't we acknowledge that, hey, why? Why do so many people believe these lies? I guarantee you this right here, this conversation, you will read in the media that this was racist. Because I sat down and
discussed race issues.
Because I sat down and argued with black people. I've been accused of being a Nazi because of sitting down and having conversations. They said, well, you should know that's offensive. That's not my responsibility. I'm actually having a conversation with Charlie.
Right.
And he was shot for it and vilified for it.
And it wrongly.
And that's wrong, yeah. That's
wrongly.
And nobody.
But it's because people believe the lie.
But that's my point. It's because the way information is propagated and given to people, once again, via social media, all these other platforms.
Makes it worse.
And most of it is disinformation.
True.
I agree.
So that's the root of the problem, is giving people the wrong information, and then they responding to this wrong information by feeling a certain way about the people that information is informing them about.
Yep.
So then you have crazy people responding to misinformation, and that's where we at. We're a bunch of crazy people, bunch of shook up soda cans waiting to pop over some bad information.
Yeah.
I just want to add something, if I may, though, and this is the only part. You know, as it relates to the Charlie Kirk situation, the only thing I think we kind of getting the mixed message in that is, as I said again, it was a young white man that killed Charlie Kirk for his personal issues, whatever those ideologies that may have been the cause and fuel his violence. It wasn't a black man who said, I don't like what he's saying. Nevertheless, he has said that, you know.
Yeah, people's ideology matters more than their race, though.
Ketanji Brown Jackson, what's that young lady, Michelle Obama, all these people with DEI highs. In other words, we respond differently because we have gotten so accustomed to it in terms of what's believed about us or perceived about us. So we just know, hey, at tomorrow, it'll be another sound bite on some other shit. You understand what I'm talking about? So we're not going to react the same way. So I think
Blue tea for memory loss? My constant brain fog that never
7?
went away is finally gone. And what I
We got to acknowledge the fact that, hey, you know what? There may need to be a change in the conversation overall as it relates to what's really in hell going on with white and black America. That's why I say I just need you to kind of just, and Steve, when I say this, it's not a challenge, but I got to ask you, you got to tell me these sources where you're getting this 12 times more likely a black man killing a white person. I got to know that, not because it's contradictory, but because I like to have facts. Give me the source.
I'll give them to you. Yeah, when we do it, we always give a QR code where you can see all of them. These are coming from either the FBI or DOJ.
You say QR code and seeing, that's a blind
I
thing.
know, that's what I'm saying. I'll have to print it out in Braille and ship it. By the way, you want to hear funny, true, hand to God. I dated a girl in college whose dad was at an airport, and next to him was Stevie Wonder. He was reading a Playboy.
This guy looks like Stevie Wonder.
In Braille. I was like, I guess you had to do that one-handed. I don't know how you use a Playboy in Braille, but...
Hey, man, blind people, we love sex. That's our only connection to the rest of society.
But you're in the airport. Stevie Wonder, Playboy in Braille. He's like, the
Hey, Charles had 11 children. Go figure.
All right, no, I will.
It's been a pleasure.
Hey, Cedric, thanks. I got to get going, too. Thank you, man. Now that I know you're blind, I'm going to...
Terrific, man. Thank you for everything, man. Continue your discourse, man, because this is the only way we're going to really get to the root of the problem. We got to talk about it first. So let's create the dialogue.
Yeah, and I came in hot because, my friends are getting killed, so...
Absolutely. Absolutely, man.
But I appreciate it. No,
sure,
thank you, guys. And hopefully we can...
And it takes courage to do what you do, man. When your life is on the line all the time, I mean, come on, that's something to scoff at when you think about the possibility of losing your children.
This might be the cure if we can do it in a way that, you know what I'm saying, like keep it in a way that people don't get all up in arms about it. Yeah.
That's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm trying. Yeah. And I know we're never going to agree on everything. We probably might not agree on anything.
That's all right.
Problem is,
but at least had a conversation.
Right. Yep, the conversation is important.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
nobody walks away from the
Being
conversation feeling wrong about others.
Watch, I'm going to walk out of here, but that white motherfucker.
Yeah, don't leave no mics behind. I'm going to tell you that now.
Well, there you have it. What do you make of what you just watched? Assuming you watched both installments. Do you think there's hope that we're on the path toward reconciliation? Or are we completely cooked? Comment below, and if you like these kinds of conversations, or the Change My Minds, or The Daily Show, weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, and you want to see more, you don't want the lights to turn off, please do consider supporting by subscribing to Rumble Premium. The link is in the description, or just tune in daily at 11 a.m. It's what keeps the lights on. Until next time, this has been
I love it.
Black and White on the Great
I love
Shoes.
that. Love that. I love that. Awesome. Okay. All right. I like that. I like that ending there. I'm glad he stayed to I'm glad he stayed there to chop it up and dap all those guys up and end it on good and polite terms. That's how it should be. That's how it always should be. It should be, you have a intense argument, intense disagreement, whatever, and then when it's all said and done, you dap everybody up, you shake hands, that's how it should be when we talk about these kinds of issues. It should be end on good terms, shake hands, squash the beef, or there's not even really any beef, but let it be known that there's still like a shared culture of humanity, a shared culture of, and I really do mean culture, shared culture of humanity, shared culture of unity on some level. I think that's necessary. I think that's crucial. So props to Stephen for actually doing this on another level. I really can't stress that enough, because it is easy to just be an online polemic, be incendiary, get clout from doing that. It's a whole different thing to practice what you preach, to walk the talk. So much credit, kudos to Stephen for that. And I'm glad to see this kind of stuff. I already got everything I needed to say out of my system at the beginning. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, comment. And until further ado, I'm out.